Hi, I'm Tracy Boyles, Director of Early Childhood and Elementary Education.
Hi, and I'm Lori Gwynn, Director of Secondary Education.
We're excited today to be talking with you about our reading plan for the school district as we start next school year. As you may remember, in the summer of 2014, the Read to Succeed legislation passed, and at that point in time, we began to learn about the components of the legislation as well as the need to develop a reading plan for our district.
Many of you participated in our survey in the fall when we were gathering data from you about reading habits, reading resources, and reading structures that you were using in your own classrooms. We saw many different things, from the different practices you use to deliver small group instruction to large group instruction. We looked at what you determined were your definitions for guided reading practice. We looked at the time that you were using to instruct students with literacy, and we also looked at your resources like your classroom libraries, your school libraries, and other things that you had available to you to use with students for good, sound instruction.
What we saw as we looked at this information is that we have a lot of practices happening in the district, and we know we have great things happening with reading. But what we want to look at is aligning those definitions more as we work together on our reading. And we also want to make sure that in reading, we're continuing to excel not only in the district, but in our state. And so historically, we exceed the state level in reading and writing performance. And that trend has continued despite the fact that we've seen changes in our standards, changes in our assessments. A lot of hard work has continued, but what we are finding is the gap between our district and the state is closing. And so we want to be sure that we're always seeking the best practices in instruction, and development of the reading plan was an opportunity to step back, reflect, and see what we can do together moving forward to better align those literacy practices.
What we see too is that we're giving you frameworks for this literacy plan so that you can use your great best practices and those tried and true things that you know have produced good growth results with your students here in the school district of Pickens County to produce great readers. And so we want to make sure that everyone starts out on the same level footing with the same foundation. And as we did that, we dove really deep into the data, but what we found along this journey was that it wasn't just about completing a task. Instead, it was really about returning to that love of our own reading experiences. We've all had those experiences that we can recall from early childhood. Think of your favorite books. And what we really discovered along the way are that books are our friends, and that books and reading is something that's ingrained in our lives. It's not something that we do for a moment, but it's something that we do forever.
We had the opportunity back in February to go to a reading summit, and at that summit we had the privilege of hearing Lester Laminack speak. And one of the messages that rang true with us and really got us thinking, as Lori said again, about our literacy roots was that books are our friends. And I thought back, to my early childhood days, and for example, this best loved nursery rhymes and storybook was a present from my grandmother as a small child. You probably can't tell in the video, but it's well worn. I carried it around and had most of these nursery rhymes memorized. And whether it was this kind of book as an early childhood experience or later in life, I became a John Grisham fan. So, all throughout my life, what I found is books have been a part of who I am and who I've become. And so as readers, we want our children to be joyful and love reading, not just focus in on a level or see themselves as either, very poor readers or very successful readers. We want them to just enjoy reading because there's power in that and it's exciting. And so before we ever get into the nuts and bolts of the reading plan, we wanted to get back to the heart of why we do what we do with reading so that we can be joyful learners as we go throughout our entire lives.
As we talked about these books being our friends, I remember from a very young age, and some of you will recognize these characters, we all began our reading with books as simple as Jack and Jill. But there was a time in my life where a very special aunt gave me something that I was not expecting. She gave me some ducks for Easter, and along with those little ducklings, she gave me this book, Ping. It was completely above my reading level, but because I wanted so badly to learn to read this book, I carried it with me everywhere I went. had every person I could encounter read me this book. And the copy that my brother and I had as young children was completely tattered, torn apart because we loved it so much. And then another aunt gave me a book when I went off to college, and I've kept this with me everywhere I go, Life's Little Instruction Book. And I've remembered that each time, picking up these little things, these little tidbits of information from those aunts who just instilled in me a passion for reading. And I bet as we're talking, some of you are thinking about those books in your mind, whether it was getting that Trixie Belden subscription in the mail every month when the new book came out, or guys, even those of you who read magazines about hunting and fishing and racing and things like that. We all have special books that we are drawn to.
As we get into this presentation, you're going to find hopefully more than just the details behind literacy. We want you to find the joy in literacy and want you to get excited about the things that lie ahead for our district as we roll out this plan. In the presentation, you'll learn about the 7 components of the reading plan, and at the close of it, you'll have an opportunity to talk with your reading coaches and get answers to questions you may have. And we know, just as with anything, there's always questions that come with it, and we're here to support you, and we're excited about the future that lies ahead with literacy in the school district of Pickens County. So enjoy, and we're going to show you our PowerPoint at this time.